The first thing you'll notice is the pilot's head sticking out through the top of the aircraft cockpit. I don't think that's an internet problem or a specific Xbox problem. That looks like it's just a general bug in the program. You can, however, see the graphics glitches straight away, even before takeoff. Now that we're up in the air, you can see that it can't render the ground detail. This is actually over Southampton in the UK, but I've noticed that over any populated area, particularly when trying to fly over London or something like that, that it just cannot get the ground detail correct. It's constantly trying to do it, but failing. On this flight, I thought I would visit Southampton docks to see what ships are currently in the harbour, see what kind of detail that I could actually get on them. Down on the right hand side you can see the first ship, complete with what appears to be trees growing out of the side of it. Quite why they would be there, I really don't know. You can see the multicoloured small boats in the harbour. They, on the other hand, appear to be very well drawn, very detailed. We'll come back to those later. Here we have another cruise ship docked in the harbour, again complete with trees attached to it for some obscure reason. A cargo vessel with trees, of course. Coming up on another cruise ship. I think this one is actually supposed to be the P&O Aurora ship, and then finally some cargo vessel that is docked at the quayside. So we're swinging around now over the quayside, so we'll get a look at some of the well, I say detailed, it's obviously not detailed, but what the grounds look like. You can see the road in the background, the cars whizzing along. You can see as it's desperately trying to fill in the ground detail as we go, it just really isn't managing it. That could be down to the internet connection, that could be down to the lack of processing power within an Xbox. But either way, it's really a very poor result. So we've exited the aeroplane now and gone into drone mode, so we can move around more freely and just have a general look at things and how they appear to be. So zooming in on this small boat that's alongside the Aurora, that is extremely well drawn, very detailed, very sharp, nothing wrong with that at all, which strikes me as bizarre. Why that should be so perfectly drawn when everything else is so appallingly badly drawn. So looking up close now on the Aurora. Such a shame that that doesn't have the detail that the smaller boat does. We now have a look at the transport ship. I think it's meant to be transporting cars. I think they're meant to be cars. Plus, for some obscure reason, a small forest. Don't know where it would be taking them. And then moving on to another cruise ship. Again with trees growing out the side of it. Internet connection problems or not, I just cannot imagine why those or these sort of graphic imperfections have been installed on the program. Clearly they're not meant to be there. And I very much doubt in reality there's trees growing in the Solent. Celebrity eclipse, it says on the side. So I'm moving in now for a closer look at the car parks. Assume this is where the cruise passengers in reality would leave their cars before boarding. Again, it just doesn't work at all. There is no level of detail there at all. They just all look like they've melted. Weather never gets that hot in the UK. This is a simulation that could be spectacularly good if the detail was there, which maybe on a high-end PC it all works absolutely fine, but on an Xbox with a limited internet connection, it's really just completely rubbish. This next ship coming up, I think, is a red funnel vessel, which in reality is I think it's the Isle of Wight ferry. But once again, it's as badly rendered as all the other ships. Again, it's got trees. If we move across to the other side of the harbour, I suppose, as you can see, the little small vessels are absolutely brilliantly drawn, although one will magically appear, an additional one will magically appear in a moment. But there's nothing wrong with the detail on those. They are really quite impressive. Finally, another cruise liner. Not even sure which one this is, but it has the usual problems, of course, in terms of its graphics and trees. Okay, so let's land this aircraft on the dock next to the ships. That way we will be able to get out and have a walk around, see what it looks like. Being able to get out of aircraft and walk around and explore your environment is one of the features in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. And we're now outside. I think that's meant to be a container ship, although it is hard to tell. Right, so we're off for a wander. You can see how the aircraft itself is extremely nicely rendered in complete contrast to everything else. I know with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 the graphics are largely downloaded from the cloud rather than stored locally on your hard drive, so I don't know if the difference in the graphic quality with the aircraft itself is because that is installed locally on the hard drive and everything else that you're seeing is being downloaded from the cloud via your internet connection as it's sort of required. So maybe that's the reason why there is such a contrast. These large structures, I think they're meant to be ships. That's definitely the side of a container ship. It really is a very weird landscape. I thought that I would basically jump off the side and see whether my character can swim or not. See what happens. Here we go. Turns out I can walk on water. The water itself is actually fairly good, fairly nicely drawn. And you even get the splashing of your feet as you're walking along. So to sum up, what do I think? Well, clearly if you've got an Xbox Series X and a 70 megabit per second internet connection, then any kind of ground detail simply does not work. It's very poorly rendered. It all just looks complete rubbish, really. It's probably not too bad if you're just going to go flying along at 5,000 plus feet. The ground looks more or less okay from there, and I haven't had an awful lot of problems with that. But one of the big features of Flight Simulator 2024 was meant to be the level of ground detail and the fact that you could land your aeroplane or park your helicopter and then go off and explore your environment in incredible detail. And I think those images of the docks at Southampton port show that if it was all superbly drawn, then it would be amazingly good, but it simply does not work. I mean, Microsoft sell the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 for the Xbox, and it's a pretty expensive program. The standard edition is £70 in the UK, going up to the Aviator edition at £200. Now, I have this via my Game Pass subscription, so it doesn't actually cost me anything, but if I had spent between £70 and £200 on this, frankly, I'd want my money back. If it doesn't work on the Xbox, Microsoft should say so.